what up, guys? Welcome to Faded Town, the #1 Pokemon podcast in the world. These are facts. I fucking checked them myself. Since it's the coronavirus season, don't leave your house. Definitely Google that shit. Pokestats it. Whatever you gotta do. This week is just like every other week, man. We got the best guests. And this is one of the younger players in the game. But if you check out his limit list, he's making a fucking run for it. All right, we got Will Jenkins, man. How's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate the invite, and I watched quite a few episodes, so good to be on.
Dude, I appreciate it. Awesome. How's your Corona season going?
Good. I'm definitely taking it a lot more serious than I've seen some people. Not a diss or anything, but like day one, my dad was like, "All right, family. So what do we want to do? We want to self quarantine, or are we just gonna like ignore it?" And pretty much everyone was on board for self quarantine, so I had to stop working, and I've been home for the past 8 days. Just getting outside, getting a little fresh air, but haven't gone anywhere. So yeah, self quarantine for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you, dude. I'm chilling.
Yeah.
I was in the fuck this shit thing, and then eventually when they start shutting everything down, I'm like, all right.
Yeah, when I went to Australia, I was like, I just want to go to Australia. It's not a big deal or whatever. But now that it's starting to come closer to home, it's got a little more concerning. So,
right.
Sure.
I always say, I'm like, just fucking chill. The quicker we chill, the quicker we can get back to shit.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to just jump into it. I think you're one of the newer age players. How long have you been playing this game?
This is my 5th year playing. I believe I started playing at the end of 2015 Worlds. And yeah, so this would be like my 5th year playing.
And let's get a little context. How old are you?
I'm 17. I'll be 18 at the end of April.
Okay. So you've started in seniors, right? Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Obviously we don't have information from back then, but when you started, how quickly did you get into competitive? Were you just gonna chill and collect cards, or were you just straight like, I played Yu-Gi-Oh or something and I want to compete?
Yeah. So I guess how I got into the game in general. I started with Pokemon as a kid when I was in 3rd grade. I mean, I'm still young, but when I was in 3rd grade, I had cards like everyone else. Collected them, traded them, no sleeves or anything, binders. Completely messed up cards, stuff like that. Had no idea how to play. And eventually we moved from California to the East Coast. I now live in Maryland. Okay. And in 5th grade, we kind of just garage sailed, and Pokemon cards were not something I was interested in anymore. So my brother and I just kind of got rid of them for, like 50 cents for 100 cards or something ridiculous. So then fast forward a couple of years, my brother just walks into a Kmart just randomly and picks up a Xerneas theme deck for no reason. He's not trying to get into the game. I guess he was playing the video games at the time, and he's like, Xerneas is pretty cool. So he did that, and I was like, why would you waste money on that? Like, you're not going to play the game or anything. And we come home, and he's like, dude, there's a whole game to this. Like, it's actually pretty cool. And I was like, oh, all right. And I looked at it. And then we split the decks in half. There was like a fairy psychic deck, so I took the psychics and he took the fairy. 30-card decks, playing completely wrong, but trying to abide by most of the rules. And at some point, my brain, I was just like, I could make money off this, because I started seeing people unboxing tins and stuff. And I think this, like, legendary treasures was super big, so people were hitting like ultra rares back to back to back. And I didn't know those cards weren't worth a ton, but I was like, hey, there's money in this. So I started a YouTube channel and tried to like sell stuff on eBay, just get stuff at a young age. And eventually I was like, oh, there's leagues for this, like local leagues and stuff. You can get involved and play the game. So very interestingly, I went to the newest card store that had just opened, coincidentally, when we moved there. And I walk into this league night on one Tuesday, and there is Michael Catron, his dad, and his friend Joseph. And those are the only 3 people in there for Pokemon. And right off the bat, Michael Catron was pretty established at the game as a senior and a junior, and I kind of got involved a little bit. I started attending the leagues with my brother. We got more cards, stuff like that. And right around when Worlds 2015 ended, Michael had gotten 9th at Worlds. and I was like, hey, that's cool. I want to do that. And I was super supportive of Michael, so I thought it was really cool that he could accomplish something like that. And I was like, yeah, I want to do that, not knowing what bubbling meant, but I was like, yeah, that seems pretty.
I want to get
That seems
ninth place.
that seems pretty cool. I want to do that someday. And ever since then, I just kind of followed in his footsteps and attended cities and stuff. And then when I got competitive, my first year, I was just kind of testing the waters. I played a few league challenges, Maryland States, stuff like that, but nothing too big. The next year, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go for it. I want my world's invite. I went to like 13 cities, and I was just so bad. So I think I ended up topping. I only topped one, and it was the last one. But that top four felt so good. So I got my top four, missed my invite, and then the next year I didn't want to go as hard as I went because it was a total burnout. But I went to enough stuff, and this is around the time League Cup started. First League Cup I go to, I win, and then I just start accumulating points. And this is the 2017 season. At the end of the year, I needed like a few placements to get my invite, and from there I was able to get top 16 at Toronto Regionals, and then this would set me up for a finish at Nats would get me my invite, and my family and I ended up going to the Origins event that was happening for the second time, I think, and I got second there, so that meant that Nats was just kind of at a free event now that I had my Worlds invite. So I got second at Origins, and then top 32 Nats, and then top 16 Worlds. So from there, I started to do stuff in the end of my seniors career.
Sure. Okay, and so going, let's jump in. Like, when did the money era hit? What, 2017?
2016, 2017, I think.
Okay, was that like, obviously your parents and everyone had to support you before that, but when money starts getting involved, when it's a lot, like was it a lot easier to be like, hey mom, I want to go to all of this?
Yeah. So at first my dad was super unsupportive about it.
Okay.
He was kind of like, why are you putting money into this? You should be doing stuff for college and whatnot. And he was more like, you should enjoy it for a couple of years, but once you start transitioning into high school and later, you should drop it, basically. Yeah. And my mom from the get-go was super supportive about it. I think she just realized that it was something I wanted to put time into and get good at. So I think that's where her support came from. So the first time I won money would have been that Nats then, because because Toronto seniors didn't get money. Then Origins was just packs. So there's a special event, and then Nats I got $500 US, I think. So that was pretty cool. And then when it really hit was when I got top 16 at Worlds. So that's a fat $2,500, and I was like I was on cloud nine. I felt so good. But yeah, my parents eventually eased into it, and my dad had a clicking moment last year that he was like, this is really important to you. But that has more to do with like masters and stuff. But yeah, my mom was super supportive about it ever since I got into it.
Oh, that's dope. I think like a lot of the younger players, like the support from the family is so crucial. It's like like to not have support and do it, it's like impossible, So
yeah,
it's like,
for sure.
A lot of people, someone I had, I forgot who I had, but they're like, the only person I played with was my mom for a long time. And I think that, it was Tord. He's like, my mom just played with me. I'm like, that's dope.
Yeah.
So you age up to Masters, what year? 2017?
2017, 2018 season, yeah.
Okay. How do you feel going up there? Were you nervous? Was it a big jump or what?
So I felt really good about coming off top 16 World at Seniors, and I knew that it would be a big jump. The first tournament that I played in Masters was a League Cup at the closest store to me, which is about 45 minutes. It was the biggest League Cup we've ever had in our area. It was about 72 Masters. So right off the bat, I was like, this is awful. Seven round League Cup. Why would I ever want to do this? I ended up sticking with the deck I played at Worlds that year, Trompa Garb, and I just got railed by 3 Galithopod, or 2 Galithopod Garbs, and then I ended up beating one of them. But like, it was so rough because I was like, why is this bad matchup just all of a sudden popular? And I forgot that I got second at Worlds. But I ended up like bubbling points, I think, at a top 16 or something with John Eng and someone else that had just aged up that year. It might have been Charlie Lockyer, so the year before. And we were all like, well, I guess this is Masters, bubbles and big League Cups. So that was how that went. And then a week or two after was Fort Wayne Regionals, and I had no intention of going. But then someone told me, "Hey, there's a spot open, so you can hop in if you want." And Fort Wayne's about a 9-hour drive. I had never gone anywhere without my parents before, so I got the okay from my parents, and I went the 9 hours with some close local friends. And right off the bat, I top 16'd that regional, so I felt super good about playing in Masters in general. So at the start, it was kind of like, this is exhausting. There's so many rounds, but once I got a solid placement, my first regionals, I felt really good about it.
Right. So coming off the worlds, like it kind of gets your name out there, right?
Hmm.
Then you get top 16. Like at this point, I know you have relationships with like Katron, and obviously he's got good relationships. Like what's your testing group look like now? Did you move up with senior players and like test with them, or are you just testing locally, or did these top players come down and be like, hey man, we know you're good, let's
Yeah.
work together?
So originally, so from that, like for Worlds, I ended up testing with mainly seniors and a couple masters, but my main testing group at the time was Isaac Molosky, Justin Lambert, Charlie Lockyer, John Collins, and some other Florida guys, plus some masters that we ended up just running into at like the hotel, so which was like Finn and Danny, but they weren't in that like group. So it was mainly just Charlie Lockyer plus anyone, because Charlie and I had been friends since the beginning. Katron, although we like started, or he got me into it, Katron and I never really tested. We still don't really test for much, but
That's weird.
yeah. So yeah, I was I was really with Charlie Lockyer that whole time, and then Isaiah Bradner as well. I was really good friends with from both his starting standpoint. Met him at a States once, and then kind of forgot that he was a person. And then the League Cup I won, he ended up being at, and his dad and him are very nice people, and they were like, "Hey, you were the kid that we met at that States one time with." Whatever. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. And then ever since then, we started talking a bit more. And he was gunning for top 16 that year. So like, it was really cool to get another friend that was involved. But my transition from seniors to masters was mainly just that group.
That's dope. So in your 2017-2018 season, you qualified for Worlds, right?
Yeah, I didn't do anything very impressive after the Fort Wayne appearance, which was a little bit of a letdown. But I was able to get my invite, so decent.
It's just rough
accomplishment. Yeah.
Going into the next season, what's your mindset? Like you got your feet wet and now it's time to like really try at this, or what?
Yeah, so going along with testing partners and stuff, this was the year that I really got involved with the Bokhari brothers. Zach Bokhari and I had talked, whatever, just because I knew him. He was a top player, and I would try and make conversation, stuff like that. So I knew Zach a little bit, and it was I think it was St. Louis regionals that year. I was still going for my invite in that season, 2017-2018 season. And Isaiah and I, because I went with Isaiah, were in the lobby, and Justin and Zach were there. So Justin Bokhari, very accomplished, 2 regional wins this season, and then Zach, his younger brother, won Worlds in 2017. So they were there, and I just played a bunch of games versus Justin, and Zach and Isaiah played a bunch of games, and I was like, I'd like to get to know them better. So I kind of hung around them for the rest of the weekend. We had dinner a few times, and I think something just kind of clicked, and I was like, hey, I like these guys. I should just test with them. And from there, Zach became my main testing partner. Zach and I just tested for a bunch of events. I didn't really know Justin that well until that year's Worlds, where after Worlds had concluded, we just randomly ran into Justin. It was Charlie Lockyer, Zach, and I just chilling in the lobby of whatever hotel. And Justin comes up and he's like, hey, I have this interesting topic. I was just with Pram, and Pram was like, why is Europe so much better than the US at these events and stuff? And our answer was they have this, I guess Pram's answer was they have this group, they don't try and screw each other over. They're just all good with each other, so they always bring good ideas. And so we kind of took that to heart, and we kind of made a group with just us 4. So it was just Charlie, Zach, Justin, and I. And we just grinded testing. And eventually Charlie and Zach stopped playing as much. And then Justin and I just started to hit it off. So we traveled to everything. We would test till like 2 a.m. on weeknights and stuff. So yeah,
So
That's how I got my testing group for that season.
that's sick because like I obviously had Justin on here, and like
Yeah.
I can tell you guys went peak rom heavy
Hmm.
last year, and it panned out well for you. I mean, you the Toronto top three, and then Origins you got second. Um, how that top three is that was that your first glass
My first what?
getting glass at
Oh,
Toronto?
yeah.
I always like to talk about that because a lot of players when you get into situations when you get into top eight, you're like, ah,
Hmm.
I made it. I made it top eight.
Yeah.
We're here, and like you don't think about it until after the tournament that you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I should have won. But at least
Yeah.
did you make top eight before that, or was it
No.
no?
So in seniors, I was very unsuccessful with stuff like that. I never top eighted, and then as you can see on the limit list, I didn't top eight before. So Toronto regionals
Right.
that year was my first top eight
Right.
with
Okay.
Trevenant.
So I kind of want to go through it. If when you hit that top eight, right? What's your mindset? Are you just happy to be there?
Yeah. So this this is a very bittersweet accomplishment. I'm not sure how much you know about that accomplishment of mine, but
I'm pretty sure I've heard of it, but
yeah, and in general,
right,
that first top eight, I was like, this is awesome. Justin and I ended up taking a very risky call following the guidance of Chris Sayakala, and we just threw Trevenant into a meta of what we expected to be like Pikarom and his counters.
right,
So we kind of just farmed all the counter decks, and it was in in retrospect, it was like a pretty good coast into top eight.
right.
But it was like very scary submitting that deck. And then once I got to top eight, I was just happy. I was just happy I was there. My first top eight, I felt like I finally accomplished something in the game, and or as a master, and I was just jazzed to be there. So yeah,
Who'd you face in top eight?
his name was Marvin, and he was
Oh, nice.
playing a. He was also playing
Playing
Trevenant,
Trevenant.
and Trevenant mirror is kind of silly. It's just like whoever hits attachments plus ends at the right times
Right.
can win. And I think that the reason I won, I 2-0'd him. I think our list was just more consistent. They Some of the Canadian players ran like a Pyro line and some energies that were special energies. So if they turn one attach blend over psychic, you can enhance hammer, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the energy attachment was really big in that matchup.
That's what's up. Um. So after you take that down, like you go on the top floor,
Yeah,
and now you realize I don't know because like when I did it, I
yeah,
didn't realize it. Like it didn't hit me. Like I could win this tournament. It was more like, oh fuck, I'm here. Like I
yeah.
made it. It's like where was your mindset?
So I same mindset as you. I was just there. I was happy to be there. I didn't expect my first top eight to come into a trophy. A running joke in our area was that everyone can get a trophy before John Ing, and lo and behold, I did it as well. And yeah, I was just happy to be there. But Justin was kind of like, dude, you made top eight. You have a favorable matchup in top four. You can win this event. The
That's
bracket
dope.
looks good. So Justin was kind of like the voice of reason, like, hey, focus up. You can win this event. And I was more like, I'm just chilling.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here.
No,
Um,
that's sick. Cause like, it's really nice to have someone like that. Cause like,
yeah.
when I did it, like I just have my local friends, and like I got messages from like Russell Lepar and stuff. But it was more like, hey,
Hmm.
good job. I didn't have that like, hey, bro, like you can win this tournament. Like,
Yeah.
get your head out of your ass. You can win. Like,
Yeah.
and like I don't like obviously you didn't
Yeah.
but do you think that you didn't have the right headspace? Did you misplay in the top four matchup?
Yeah. So I'm not 100% sure how many people actually know this, but I I in that top four I hit Jimmy Pendarvis,
Yeah.
and what's interesting enough is Jimmy kind of served as a coach for a while. I attribute a lot of my success to Jimmy
Okay.
because for a short time I was paying him to help me get better because I felt that I had hit a roadblock in my play, and this was like the 2018 season where I had nothing going on but the Worlds invite. So I reached out to Jimmy. I was like, "Hey, would you be interested in coaching me?" And sure enough, he was willing to. And so I knew that I was making errors that were costing me games, so I figured it's probably best to reach out to one of the best players and see what if they can help me.
Yes.
And lo and behold, every coaching session that I had with Jimmy, I came out of it feeling like I had learned so much more about the game. So I attribute a lot of success to Jimmy. And lo and behold, I had coached with him that week for about 2 hours, and there I am sitting against him with a favorable matchup in top four. So um, my head was in it. I was ready to win. I knew my matchup was good, but in practice, I think one of the main things that threw me off was the stream. That first time being streamed in such a high intensity like that, I just was making mistakes left and right. With such a good matchup like that, you would expect that there's no way you can mess this up, but I figured it out. I figured out how to mess it up. My game one was just abysmal. I completely tunnel visioned on a play that I thought was not possible, and I knew that we had figured out Jimmy's list, and we figured out that he played Floatstone and Order Pads, and I was like, oh, he started a Ranguru. The only way he can retreat this is if he attaches DCE, so there's no way he can attack the Phantom if I put it active. And I think I had started SP on EX, so I didn't want him to take 2 prizes. Right. So I sent up my lone Phantom. The way I'm going to item lock him and win the game. So I'm just like, here you go. And then sure enough, at some point, he's just like, Order Pad, head, Floatstone. I was like, oh my god, how could I do this? And like I got so frustrated with myself that I just like scooped 2 or 3 turns later.
Yeah.
And then game 2, I'm in a pretty winning position. Jimmy is drawing unbelievably well. Just like I ace trainer him starting turn 2 once he takes his knockout. Juniper, DCE, knockout. And 2, his deck, it thins very fast, so like it's understandable to an extent, but it seemed like nothing could go right for me. I would ace trainer him, he'd fight Juniper DCE, ace trainer Juniper DCE, and Juniper ace whatever. Yeah. So he was drawing very, very well, and I knew that I was playing from back foot, and it got to a point in the game where I realized that I can deck him out because he would run out of DCEs as long as I keep item lock up. And I think I countercatcher his Ranguru or something into the active so that he can no longer win, and he ends up passing back. And as long as I just keep passing, I just win the game. But then I completely forgot that I could do that, just completely tunnel visioned on a different win condition, and I figured that if I go end Silent Fear, I can just win that way, because I completely forgot the win con that I had established. And I like I said, I attribute that to just stream nervousness and stuff like that. I was not very used to being in a situation like that. Right. So I end DCE, and sure enough, he's able to find game off end a 1, I think. Yeah, I mean, a little unfortunate, but still, I had a guaranteed win con. And Justin ended up asking Jimmy why Jimmy didn't concede after that game, and Jimmy just said he figured I'd mess up, so he wanted to see if he could take that win condition. So, I got 2-0'd by possibly my best matchup in the event. And Jimmy went on to win another regionals, but a big learning experience. I was pretty heartbroken after that event. I felt it was, like I said, bittersweet. I knew I felt good that I did well, but I had so many people messaging me like, "Congrats, but bro, what the hell happened on stream?" And like, so definitely bittersweet, but nonetheless, I made a mistake, made a good run, and that's how it ended.
Right. I'm lucky my match wasn't on stream because. I fucking my show's way worse than yours. Like, I don't know if I've actually publicly said it, but I was playing Aaron Turbo, and I was fucking. I have a good matchup. He's playing Trevor, I'm playing Archie Stoice, and I'm like, I don't get turn one Blastoise, and I'm like, but he started like Baby Lele, and I'm like, all right. Maybe he won't get that out of the active. Like, who knows? Yeah. So, VS Seeker, the Archie's back in my hand. I'm like, all right, I have playable cards. I can play these out, and Archie's next turn if, like, shit happens, And he can't get it out, but he ends me. So I put it back into the deck. Okay? And then it's my turn. I'm like, I have the nuts in my hand. I play out my entire hand. Boom. I play battle. I think I played like 2 battle compressors. Boom, boom. 2 battle compressors. VS Seeker. Oh, guess what? That's not in my discard pile. Let's scoot this up, please. I'm like, I don't fucking know what I was doing.
As a Trev player, I think I'd be like, ha ha ha. Nice.
That's kind of. I play the VS Seeker. He looks at me. He goes, it's not in there. And I'm like, what? He's like, oh my god, I'm so dumb.
Yeah.
And then like the next game, I run him over, and then the game after that, I prize both Keldios. And I'm like, I guess I lose.
Yeah.
I guess I lose, but I'm like, at least it wasn't on stream. Both my games on stream, I won. I was like, good.
Yeah.
Because I would have got ripped. But yeah, it's super dope when you do get that over that hump. When you hit like these small accomplishments, even though like, I mean, technically it's not small. I mean, you got third at a regional, and
Yeah.
there's people that play this game forever and never get that. You know,
Yeah.
taking home a trophy, and I think a lot of people don't realize how established that is, especially in a game that never ends. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I've harped on this so much. One regional after another, and you just don't ever realize these accomplishments, you know? But
Yeah.
it's pretty dope. And now, I mean, obviously you wanted to get good. You were getting coaching. You've teamed up with the Bacardi brothers. And you have a good run, right? You can do Origins well. You make a couple top 32s. You go into Worlds. You came up just short of that top 32, right? At Worlds last year. You got 43rd, it says.
Oh yeah. I hit a win in. I was gonna win into top 16, I think, and I sat against a good friend of mine now, a player from Japan, Yoshiyuki, and he. Funny enough, I open Dedenne GX with an unplayable hand. I go attach pass, and he opened Blacephalon GX. So I'm like, all right. So if he welders here, I can get mind blown for 150. You know, no problem. I'll get another turn. We can amount a comeback, and I know that Blounds is a pretty good matchup for Pika, and I can afford to lose a turn, so I'm not too upset about it. Turns out he's playing Reshi's hard, so that was not
with
great.
But what a monster.
Yeah. So he opens Blacephalon, he goes draw, and he does his thing, and then he goes Welder 3 energies. I'm like, all right, this is fine. He goes to I don't remember the exact sequence of cards, but at some point he just Welders for 3 and goes Shrine of Punishment, mind blown, and I was like, I looked at his list. I looked at his list on Twitter after because I went and followed him. 1 Blacephalon GX, 1 Shrine of Punishment, and I was like, bro, my next card was Ultra Ball, so my mind was blown. And then game 2 just very bad. I think my first attack was the turn he won the game.
Right.
So just an abysmal winning in. But I mean, I was pretty happy I made it through day 1 with a concept that my friends and I created. So
that's dope. I really like that you guys stuck with Pikarom. Did you play it at NAIC too, Pikarom? With everyone else?
Yeah, I did. I ended up losing my winning in to Malamar. I hit the I hit 2 of the like 4 tool drops in the tournament. It was really funny because I was in the B&B with Stefan and that Zoroark deck.
Okay.
And I didn't like it because I was beating with Pikarom before the event, so I went, I'll just stick with my guns.
Yeah.
And Charlie Lockyer didn't want me to spread his archetype, so I didn't want to test it of this tool drop thing. And sure enough, I hit like 2 of the 5 people playing it, and it just happens to rail Pika. So, yeah.
That's rough. Yeah, I played fucking Chansey. I lost my winning into Pikarom because I didn't play a fucking Mew.
Yeah.
Alright. They sent me a list. I just played whatever the list was, and then I get to the tournament in the morning. He's like, hey, did you put Mew in the list? I was like, no. He's like, fuck. I'm like, thanks, Russell. Thank you.
Yeah.
But it was a fun tournament. I make fun of fucking Raul for switching off Pika. Cause I was in
oh god, that deck was so bad.
Yeah, I was in the room with Bacardi and Raul when they were fucking going. Bacardi was like, fucking blinders on. I'm not playing that stupid ass fucking Blacephalon deck you guys are playing. And
I was in that room for a short time. You might have been there, but I don't think I didn't know you at the time. But I was in there at some point with Wilkinson and them, and they were like clapping Pika, and I was like, damn. But I ended up going back. I don't do very well on like late nights during pre-tournaments, so I just decided I would just stick with it. And then the morning of, Justin and I always have this talk that's kind of like, all right, what deck do we think is the move? If you're down, I'm down, and that's kind of how we lock in our deck choices. And he was like, dude, I'm kind of feeling this Blacephalon deck, but I can't. I don't think he was able to show it to me because it was what Joe Rudiger was playing, and there was a little competition there because I was trying to get top 16 and he was trying not to lose it, so he couldn't show me the deck apparently, and he was like, out of loyalty to you, I'm not gonna play the deck if you don't want me to. And I was like, dude, I don't care, it's up to you, but I'm just gonna stick with peaks. And he ended up we same 60 for a lot of events, but yeah, he went with peaks and it worked out for him. So I'm happy he did that.
Yeah, I told him. I was like, I'm glad you did that too. Because when Rule
Yeah,
told me he's playing that stupid ass deck, I was like, ah, you're dumb. You're
yeah,
dumb. You shouldn't have done that. I
yeah.
played. I think I played against Justin like 3 games, and I
Mhm.
opened the worst 3 hands I've ever played in my life in Pokemon. I was like, draw passing like 3 times
Yeah,
and just getting donked, and I'm like, you guys are gonna play. This is the deck you're playing.
yeah,
I'm gonna go play Chansey, okay? This is
yeah.
better Chance.
At
So,
Origins the week before, I was playing Zapdos, and every time I think I hit 2 or 3 green. I think it was 2 greens with Cephalon and 1 Jirachi. I knew the matchup wasn't great because they're tankier than my Zapdos, so they just like as long as they can hit consistent knockouts or whatever, they can win. And I need to like double E power, mix it up with the Ultra Beast. But I knew that every time I hit that deck, a well-timed Let Loose or like whatever, and I'm in that game.
you
Like
just it's
I did
over.
not drop a game to the Cephalon deck.
Yeah, I'm glad that Pigrom just felt like the best deck last year. I mean, up to
Yeah.
Worlds because like the whole format changed, but
Hmm.
which obviously you still thought it was fine, and it did. You
Yeah.
got top 50, which is
Yeah.
not bad. So at this point, you're pretty established. You got some good finishes under your belt. You're getting you got coaching from some of the best players.
Hmm.
You're teamed up with Bacardi. You're going into this next season after. I mean, I always want to talk about the 2018-2019 season being the DDG season, and
Yeah, for sure.
you see that, and you're like, okay, this is how. I mean, between them and Limitless, we had that conversation. You know, they have this group of people that are just there to win, and they're not selfish, and they work together and they win. And I feel like you go into this season that we're currently in. That might not be a season, but I feel like you
Yeah.
and Bacardi and the lab have took that mentality, and now we see it with you guys where
Yeah.
you guys are doing very well. I mean, you have two top eights this year. You're in top 32 almost every time.
Yep.
What's the mindset going transferring into this year? Is that what you guys thought? It was like, okay, we'll get this small group of people and we're gonna try to do our best.
Yeah. Is this the 2018, 2019 or current?
20,
Okay.
2019, 20.
Yeah. So the lab, as people call it
I
now,
heard you
like
don't like
that.
it.
Yeah. I am not a fan of calling it that. Like
What would
at
you call
first. No. That is what it's called. Like
Okay.
I'm not gonna beat around the bush, but for like. I don't know. It's just weird when people are like, "Oh, you're gonna go test at the lab now or whatever." Like that to me, that's annoying. But like I understand. I don't know. I don't. I honestly don't know. It's just like I play video games with friends on the side from like that I don't test with,
Right.
and sometimes I'll just like hop off at 10 o'clock because I'm gonna go test, and I'm like, I'm gonna go test. I'll see you guys later. And they're like, "Oh, he's going to the lab," and then
Dude,
they'll all
that's
stay
dope.
there. So
I like
yeah.
that.
So
Yeah, I am.
so
I'm going to the lab. You're fucked.
yeah, through that I it got a little annoying. I mean, it's not a big deal, but
Right.
now I think it's a little bit established. People keep calling it that, so I'm assuming that's what it's going to be known as. But the chat is called the lab, stuff like that. So basically, the idea was we wanted to take so for Worlds that year, or sorry, the Worlds the year prior, the Pika Judge deck.
Yes.
Justin, like obviously Justin and I are just buddy on everything now. Like we've played same 60 to multiple events. You know, we
Yeah.
are the core group, and then we usually just add whoever wants to like stay or we want to stay with for events, like Rahul, John for a short period, stuff like that. So we're kind of just like, unlike DDG, that's super. You know, this is our group. We're not going to talk to anyone. At the time, we were like, hey, we're just down to like stay with people. You know, whatever.
Mix it up
But
every tournament.
yeah, so going into that season, it was actually Justin Kulas's idea, who had worked with us, and he was like, "Guys, I want to be." He basically said, "I want to be gods this year. I want people to know our names and like fear us like DDG." And we're all like, "What? What the hell is he on?" But he basically just wanted to create a god squad, similar to what DDG had done in the past. And
Right.
you know, we were on board. You know, who doesn't want to be good at that level? So the original group was Kulas, me, Justin, Isaiah, and Jonathan Croxton. And through that, we ended up adding Keon Amini, because Keon's really good friends with Justin and I. And then through Keon, I was like, hey, maybe Kenny Britton wants to join in. So we wanted to get these West Coast players that, don't travel as much because of location, that we think are really strong and have been very strong in the past, and adamant. So with some group adjustments, the group going into like Atlantic City, well, basically past Atlantic City, was Keon Amini, me, Justin, Kulos, Isaiah, and Kenny.
Yeah.
And that was the group. And from there, we just dedicated testing. We would try to test as much as we could, schedule allowing, because Pokemon is not any of our careers. We have other stuff going on, so we tried to just test when we could and promote ideas. And through there, we had some solid finishes. At Atlantic City, we ended up having a couple top 32s with the Mewtwo deck. Justin got 9th with Pika. Then Knoxville, we all played Pika again. Justin ended up getting his first top 8, and from there it just started rolling. And then, yeah.
Right. When you jump in, like with that mindset, like I've been preaching this because I see it from that side. It's just such a good mindset to have. Obviously, you want to make friends and stuff, and you want to socialize, and I think you guys do it in a way that you can do that. Where I feel like I think it's more accepting. I think last year when DGG was doing what they were doing, which was being very successful and being very secretive, and a lot of people just didn't understand it, especially in North America. It was like everyone was, obviously that everyone didn't like each other or liked each other or whatever. But now I think everyone sees what DGG did, and now you guys are doing it, and the other people are doing it, and I think right now we just have the highest level of play because of this format.
Yeah.
Of, hey, let's get 5 good minds, 6 good minds, whatever your group is. It could be 10, it could be whatever, but people that want to do well at this game, just like you said.
Exactly.
I think that's what it takes, and obviously you're going to have your outliers where you have a few people that do well, but for the majority, if you look at the top 8s throughout this season, it is players that are working in these groups that are doing accomplished, and you can see it throughout the standings. Like, sure, you got 27th, but someone else got 9th and 13th, and you're all day 2ing, and it's just I really like that. I really think that's the approach that you have to go.
Yeah. The goal with the group, other than what Kulos said, because what Kulos was doing was a little extreme, but the goal of the group was to recreate DDG's success, but do it in a positive way. Not saying that what DDG was doing was negative, because it obviously worked out for them, but like we didn't want to restrict ourselves from social settings because of our group. Yes. And that's why we have people that stay with us, like Harris Noor, and has stayed with us countless times, always gets the deck, always does pretty well. And like Harris is local to me, and we've been friends since a couple of years into me playing, and we just want to be able to have friendships that we not necessarily test with every night. So it was kind of founded on that principle of, if you want to stay with us for this event, like, we're down, and you don't necessarily have to test with us in order for that to happen.
That's dope. I like that. I like that, and I think there's 2 ways to look at it, and it's both sides of the coin, where if you want to take it super serious and not have this social thing, which at this point, I don't know if that's the right way. I know DDD had such great success, and but at the end of the day, you're not making that much money to like care that much. Like, where I think your approach is very good. It's like, hey, we got 7 people in this Airbnb. 4 of them are in our group, but we're not going to be like, hey, fuck, like, guys, don't look at my deck. But obviously, you probably tell them, hey, this is our deck. Don't fucking leak that shit. And like, that's just respect.
Yeah, that's kind of where it comes from. Like, we kind of hope that if we give you something, you're not gonna turn it around. Right. And obviously, if you do that, we can't
ever do. Like, we're not gonna. And I think morally, people, like, especially when you're brought into a successful group like that, morally, people are not gonna do that.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, people look at tournament wins and placements and stuff like that. But for me, something that's always been super important in the community, something that's
Yeah.
always been important for me playing the game is the community. I love a lot of the people that I've met through this game, and I would hope that the relationships that I've formed in the game last for a long time, if not forever. And I think that it's just, at the end of the day, I just want to have good friendships and enjoy going to the events. Because if I'm not enjoying the people I'm around and going to events with, why would I want to continue playing?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the one thing that keeps me going too. I think the
Hmm.
more I interact with these people and I make friendships, especially through this podcast, like
Yeah.
obviously it's top players that I'm talking to, and when I see them at events now, it's like, well, what's up? We're going to hang out after. We're getting food. We're having fun, and like it's so much. Like events are so much more now. It's not. I mean, I'll come with some dumbass deck, and sometimes I do well, sometimes I don't,
Yeah.
but I have fun now, no matter what.
Hmm.
Where I think in the past I would come with like local people, and we'd all like none of us were on the same page. We didn't play the same deck, and none of us did well. And we'd come back and we'd be like, "Oh, this weekend sucks," and like.
Yeah.
But now it's just so much different for me, and like these relationships are really the key to having fun in this game. And I think you hit it right on the nail.
Hmm.
Um, but let's talk about your second top eight. Like when you get into the second top eight, now how do you feel? Like do you feel because like you do it the first time and like I
Yeah.
like when I did it I'm like that wasn't like I look at it to this day I still look at it I was like fuck that was my chance like will I
Yeah.
ever have that chance again?
Yeah.
And so when you go into Daytona regionals, you guys obviously had is this Xander's list?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, kind of.
Or is it a little bit off?
They're pretty different, but it is I attribute all of it to Xander. Xander came
Okay.
up with the Rosa thing, and he gave the deck idea. So yeah,
Okay, yeah.
Xander's idea, different list.
Okay, cool. So you have obviously Xander's one of the fucking a monster player. You know, you
Yeah.
have a great list. You go into this tournament. Um, you've had you've established yourself with this group of people. Do you go in this tournament thinking you have the best deck?
Um. So leading up to this event, our group, not only Isaiah and I were going. So out of Kenny, Keon, Kulos was taking a bit of a break, but he was going since he lives in Florida. So basically,
Okay.
Isaiah, Kulos, and I were like, Mewtwo seems pretty good. But leading up to the event, I talk a lot with the Brazilian player Joao, Pedro Medeiros, and
Okay.
he was like, dude, this ADP Cryogonal double Absol deck is pretty dope because we had tested this for the Brazil IC. His junior or senior student did well with it, and I was like, I like this deck, but it doesn't beat Mewtwo consistently, and that was the biggest issue. Mewtwo seemed like the best deck at the time. It had won the past two events, got second in this new format, and that's where I was at. I liked Mewtwo, Isaiah liked Mewtwo, so that's kind of what I was thinking. I ended up driving 10 hours to get there,
Fuck. Okay.
and I was trying to figure out if I could make ADP insane because I thought that ADP as a card was incredibly good,
Mm-hmm.
and I just figured it has to be broken in some way. It did well, but a ton of people played it. So like the numbers and math were there that just could have been like, hey, this deck was super played, and that's why it did so well. So I show up, and since Justin is not here, I was kind of like on my own with Isaiah, and Isaiah didn't get in until 5 p.m. or 8 p.m. or something like that, very late,
Yeah.
and I was in at the morning. So through Pokemon, I made very good friendships with the Retzloff family, Steve and his son Reagan, who's a
Right.
absolute beast in the junior and
He
senior
is.
division.
He is.
So I knew that they were in the area, so I reached out to Steve. I was like, "Hey, is Reagan around to test or whatever?" And he was like, "Yeah, Xander and Reagan are in their room doing whatever." So I went over there, and sure enough, Xander is playing ADP. So I was like, "Oh, all right, this is interesting." I knew he wrote an article on it, and as he's playing, I see he plays down Rosa, and I was like,
Hmm.
"Hmm, that's interesting." And I was like, "All right, this seems pretty cool. If I can beat you with Mewtwo, I'm just on Mewtwo. But if not, I might give your thing a try." And he ends up 2-1ing me in the game I won. He just drew pretty abysmal or
Okay.
whatever. And from there, I was like, "All right, I like this, and I want to make work on it, or I want to work on it and stuff like that."
Right.
From there, we started brainstorming some ideas, and it eventually got to the excuse me, got to the point in the night where Rahul and Xander kind of wanted to do their own thing, and I was just really wanting to test. So I ended up going, and now Isaiah was there, and Joao was also there. So we all kind of worked on this deck, and that's how my list became different from theirs. I just really wanted to test, and they were kind of set on what they already had. So I sent them the edits, but they didn't like them, so they just went with their own thing. And I ended up getting first seed, and the deck was broken. It was a direct counter to DDG's Doll Stall deck. Just Giraffe Array, Cryogonal, just the counts of cards, Cyrus Prism even, just completely destroyed their deck. So I kind of coasted into day one and then into top eight. Or sorry, into day two, then top eight with this deck that just autoed some of the best players in the game.
That's what's up. When you hit that, so obviously you felt like you had the best deck, right? Which is good. Like
yeah, sure.
That's a great feeling. Like going into a tournament, going, all right, I think I have the best deck. I just play smart. I'm better than most of these players here. Just play out the games, and then once you find out that these top players are playing a fucking auto loss to you, or you have an auto win over them, basically. You're like, okay, I can win this tournament.
Yeah.
All right.
So like Justin and I always try to think about this, and that's why I think we see a lot of success. So like I've talked about this with some of the group DDG at the time about this, and they said it was kind of like a waste of time, but they see why we're doing it. And our logic was we should always keep them in mind, because if we want to win the tournament, we're most likely going to hit them. So we always try and make our deck choices have some sort of edge against what we think they're going to play, and you can see that through our various results. That they might not do as well, and it was probably because we just ended up hitting them. And it doesn't always happen, and it was interesting because Daytona was one of the times that I didn't think about that, and it just kind of worked out. But we always keep that in mind. So any time that we feel like we predicted that right, and after round one we figure out what their deck is, what they're playing, and we figure out we have an edge, we're like, all right, so we got to beat everyone else, and then if we can get to these guys, we're chilling. Right. So it's just something that we've always thought about, and I don't know, it works sometimes.
Right. It's like when you get to a certain level in this game, I think that's really smart, because there's a lot of decks like that can day two. Like you can play this deck, you can day two, and then or you could play this deck and you could win. Like there's two different mindsets, and or you could just fail. Like this deck could win the tournament. It can beat these. You can beat these top players with this, whatever. Or you could hit shitty matchups and lose. Or you can play something safe and get your points. And I always tell people, I'm like if you're not at a certain level in this game, there's levels to this game. I don't care what anyone says. You can see this isn't all everyone's pretty much established that this isn't just straight luck based, because there's so much consistency on who's doing well. So once you get to a level, it's like, okay, I'm trying to win a tournament here. So you looking with your mindset of okay, what is DGG playing? It's great, But when you're at a lower level, you're like, let's not think that way. I know you. Everyone wants to know. Okay, let's see if I can beat DGG. You gotta get there first, boys. We gotta get there.
Yeah.
But your mindset, I think it's great. I think with Justin and everything, and obviously you want to. Those players are always up there. You know that. So at the end of the day, if you are gonna win the tournament, you need to beat them. And it obviously went real well for you here. So you get in the top 8 spot. Is your mindset a little better than it was last time?
Compared to top 8?
Compared to where you got third. Did you go into this one a little less nervous?
Yeah, so Xander, Rahul, and I, and basically everyone that was playing the deck, we were like, dude, this deck's broken. There's no way this deck doesn't win the event. And Xander and I basically expected to be finals. Right. And I think I played Seeding Master a little poorly. I kind of played on the moral side of, I want to get my friends in. I ended up IDing Katron instead of scooping to possibly try and get him to the bottom of the bracket so I could hit him. Because if I scooped to him, he could miss on a bubble, stuff like that. So I think I could have played Bracket Master a little bit differently with how I played stuff, but the first round where I'm given a decision as to what I want to do, I hit Grant, and Grant's playing the Doll Stall deck. I give him the ID. I probably should have just scooped to him to get another Doll Stall into top eight. Then I hit Xander, and this is the one decision I don't regret between Katron and Grant. I conceded to Xander to guarantee him top eight because in my eyes, Xander gave me the concept. He, gave something that he came up with to me, and there's no better way than me giving back that success. So I felt like I did the right thing there, and I wouldn't trade that for anything.
Right.
And then Katron, I gave the ID. We rode together, good friends. So I just, the bracket ended up not working out my way because of some ties that occurred that shouldn't have happened, and then the only auto loss in the tournament ended up sneaking into 8th seed. And when pairings got posted, I was like, please give me Dollstall, please give me Dollstall, give me another trophy. And sure enough, my name at 1st seed, I looked down, Drew Kate is 8th seed, and he's playing Guardian,
Fuck
and I was
yeah.
like, no!
No.
So I felt like a potential regionals finals, because I expected to hit Xander in finals, just slipped out of my hands. And obviously I wanted to come up with a game plan to win, which I did. Didn't work out. But you never want to give up hope like that.
Right.
But from a matchup standpoint, and based on the list that we have in his list, I knew that I was in a lot of trouble. So
Yeah.
it felt pretty bad to know that.
Right. Yeah, it kind of sucks because when you do so well, and you
Mhm.
are put in that position of, okay, I can almost control the bracket here.
Yeah.
I can decide. Like I'm in what you're in like 3 rounds deep. So
Hmm.
that you got this. Like, how I know you're a younger player, and I don't want to say you get manipulated, but
Yeah.
but like
Yeah.
you do get pressure put. I don't know how much pressure you get put on you, but
Yeah.
when people walk over to you, I was like, "Are you scooping? Do you make all these decisions yourself? You think, or
Um.
were you influenced? Like on okay, Xander came, I'm like I'm gonna scoop to you, or was
Yeah.
it
I asked some of the DG guys their opinions because I knew
okay?
that they
That's
were
great,
the people that had the best information. And I mean, sure, they could have tried to gain an advantage, but
right?
like, what advantage are they giving themselves? It's
Exactly,
pretty inevitable they hit me or Xander. So I asked Jimmy, and he said that this seems fine. Basically the path, because this was when I was going to hit Grant. Obviously I didn't know I would be hitting Xander and Katron until those rounds, but the Grant thing, there was a chance that if I lost the last 3 rounds, so if I triple conceded or if I had double conceded played out, whatever. If I
right,
lost the 3, I could have bubbled. So in my mind, I was like, I don't want to lose top 8.
right,
So I ID'd Grant just to get that match point. And then, like I
smart,
said, with Xander, I just gave it to him. And then Katron, before we saw his standings were posted, and he was like, "Dude, I can't lose because if I lose, I bubble." And at that point, I was like, I might as well ID. You're, good friend. So
right.
I think we did the math where it wouldn't have ended up working out, and the only round that would have changed something would have been the Grant round. So I probably should have conceded there. But no, I didn't feel like I got manipulated. It's possible that it's happened to me before, but I don't think so. I don't think
Right.
so.
But I think it's real smart that you went and talked to some people that have been kind of in
Yeah.
that position.
Hmm.
I did the same, but the person I talked to was Sam Chen, and he almost got me bubbled. So
Yeah.
good thing I went and talked to Kenny Britton, and he was like, "Yeah, don't you fucking ID here, dude. You have to play." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Let me play real
Yeah.
quick." It's funny shit, but yeah, when you do get in those top spots, it's really good to have like those people to talk to because it's like,
Yeah.
okay, you guys been in this situation of because it gets real weird. Like even you're like, okay, how many points do I need? It might be this much. It matters how good is everyone doing. It's like fuck, all
Yeah.
right. So I'm glad you have a good head on your shoulders where you're making the right decisions.
Yeah, I feel so like the way I view my position in this game and how I got to where I am now is I feel like my networking game is pretty strong. I made a lot of connections just throughout rooming with people, driving with people, messaging,
Yeah.
talking, and like I got to be pretty friendly with the Someone's PC group really early, and they helped me transition from like casual to competitive stuff like that. So in my eyes, there's no point in not asking people that are better than you like advice
Right.
because they're either going to say no and they're not interested, or they're going to help you. And
Yeah.
I mean, if they help you, you got what you wanted. So them saying no, it could be a little embarrassing depending on who you are. But I feel like networking is super important in anything that you're trying to be good at, because like say you want to be pro at an esport, right?
Right.
You think you're okay, you think you're decent, but now you want to take it to the next level. So you can watch videos and stuff, but you might never get that click
Right.
that makes you go to the next level that someone else could help you with. So I
Right.
feel like that's just like something that you could do to try and get up there.
Right. I think your mindset, everything you've been doing is very good.
Yeah.
You found your way in, and but at the end of the day, you still got to perform, and now you're performing. Like people, it's very respectable, and I mean, it doesn't end here. You go right back into this in Collinsville. You're back in the top 8. So now, like you have to think in your head. You're like, all right, this group we put together, this is good. Like we are fucking good. I'm going into my 3rd top 8. Obviously, kind of sucks. You face off in the mirror match versus Bacardi right off the fucking bat. And like, let's be honest, you've dominated this tournament. Like, you're first seed in this one, right? Too.
Going into top 8, I ended up losing the last round to Mahone, and he got in first seed over a match point.
Okay.
Close,
But like,
close enough.
on day 1, you were like
8-0.
8-0, yeah.
Yeah.
So you pretty much dominated it. And I feel like in this tournament there was something that happened. I'm trying to remember. Let me look at the standings real quick. But I feel like Isaiah Bradner would have faced you, right? If he would have
Isaiah ended up making a jump.
Yeah, he lost to Rudiger, right? Yeah.
No. Isaiah lost to Rudiger, and then he ended up making a gentleman's agreement with Mahone, and he lost the agreement. So then instead of taking an ID into a win, and he lost and had to play for 16 or something.
Yeah, but like when I was watching that, I think a lot of people had Justin bubbling, and I think if Joey loses to fucking Isaiah Bradner, you're facing Bradner, which you guys. It's the same 60, right? All
yeah. So the other person playing the deck was Kenny Britton, and he ended up losing his win, and he had a few unfortunate games.
Yeah.
But this event was pretty interesting. Justin, Isaiah, and I were in Australia, and obviously that's a very big time commitment. Traveling so far with a time zone change, a completely different format, brand new format. So all of our minds were kind of focused on that. And I had no intention of going to Collinsville, so it was really just Kenny masterminding Expanded with some other friends that he talks to or whatever, and then bouncing ideas with us whenever he felt like it. So I had no intention of Collinsville, and then Justin was like, hey, I committed to going with Kenny. I'm just going to drive 15 hours by myself. And I'm like, you're crazy. Pick me up. I'll drive with you, whatever. So Justin and I, live close enough, like 3 hours, 45 minutes, close enough on certain routes we can take, and we can pick each other up, stuff like that. Right. So I was like, just drive the 3 hours and 45 minutes to my house, and then we can drive there. I'll help you drive, whatever. Right. So this ended up happening the week of. I made plans to do this. And even funnier, Katron ended up joining our car, and he decided to go the night of. So our car was pretty crazy, and we ended up we left through the night, and we were gonna get there at like 10 a.m. I think, and we hit a snowstorm. Like an hour into the drive, so we almost didn't make it. We almost decided to go back home, but we ended up staying at a hotel for like 5 hours to wait for it to pass. So we ended up getting in way later than we thought. So we're all underprepared. I haven't tested a single game of Expanded except for Trevenant versus Eggrow on the plane to Australia, where the connection went out versus Ian Robb. So just like I have no knowledge, and I'm just trying to figure out what I can through listening to podcasts in the car, stuff like that, texting people, gaining knowledge. So I'm just kind of like, I'm here. We're gonna see how it goes. I wish I wasn't here, but whatever. Let's make the best of it. And Kenny had done so much testing, so we just kind of followed him. And basically, what he found was Doll and Wall stall decks were pretty broken, or not broken, but they were pretty good. The Trevnor deck was unbelievably oppressive, and he felt that if the perfect 60 could be crafted, that it would be strong. And then they thought that Turbo Dark could be decent. So I, with my knowledge of expanded and stuff, I was just kind of like, I want to play the deck that does the same thing every game, and it either wins or it doesn't. So in my eyes, that was the Trevnor deck. I ended up selecting that. They worked on the list while I slept because I was unbelievably tired, and I woke up to a monstrosity. And I had never done well at St. Louis before, seniors, masters, couple of years, and sure enough, I was 8-0 on day one, and I was just like, huh, this is cool.
We'll take this.
My deck's pretty broken.
Right.
Yeah.
That's dope. Um, yeah, I mean, obviously you had a tough run against Bacardi, and he ends up winning it all.
Yep.
I mean, it really came down to that match for the whole tournament.
Yeah, that's the way we viewed it. There, in my eyes, especially so like testing partners in general. If I was gonna lose to anyone, I would want to lose to Isaiah, Kenny,
Yeah.
Keon, etc. But from like non-testing thing, just friendship. If there was anyone in the world I would want to lose to, it'd be Justin.
Yeah, 100%. They had to
Through
put.
thick and thin, I was completely fine losing. I don't think I played great on stream, and I made some tunnel vision plays based on misfortune on my part.
Yeah.
Like him starting Wobbuffet, I ended up prizing my Wobbuffet, and from there I kind of forgot a few game plans. And I think that top 8 match helped me realize what I think my biggest weakness in the game is, and I think that's tunnel visioning. When put under stressful situations like being on stream, I kind of tunnel vision on plays that either work or don't work, then either forget them or go too far onto them. So I think that that was a good thing that came out of me losing. But, in my eyes, I was happy to lose to Justin over anyone else, and I'm glad that he was able to take down the whole tournament.
That's really dope. I like your mindset. I think you have just the words you just said. Being able to just establish that, like, I know what is my weakness is. It's
Yeah.
something a lot of players don't know, and they just think luck of the cards. But like,
Yeah.
it is what it is. I think, and it's great. Like at the end of the day, you want to have your friends in the top 8 with you, and if you're gonna lose to anyone, obviously you're especially. I mean, the way you and Justin been testing for years.
Mm-hmm.
But it is bittersweet though. Like you gotta admit that.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
Another top 8, and something I've learned very quickly is top 8 versus top 4 feels real bad. You lose half the money, stuff like that.
no
And
trophy.
another thing I've learned very quickly is the curse of first is actually horrible. I have been first seed twice.
Yeah.
I was almost first seed a third time, but then going into top 8, I was first seed again. I was first seed in Madison at a record of 801. Missed top 8 completely in day 2, so that was a real stinger. Daytona, first seed again in day 1 and day 2, end up losing in top 8, and then second seed going into day 2 off of a loss to Andrew, and then first seed going into top 8, losing top 8 again. So the curse of first, as people call it, that I've become accustomed to is pretty annoying,
Right.
but it happens.
It happens. I mean,
there's always more tournaments.
yes, that's one thing. It's like you've kind of established yourself as like I'm really good now. I have a good testing group. These top 8s will happen. Like you're especially when you get to your third one. I have to feel like you're like, okay, I can continuously do this. Like I put in my work, which is dope.
Also, that first top 8, I kind of felt like, did I get lucky? I made my top 8, but nothing's happened in I want to say 6 months. It could be more or less between Daytona and Toronto. It was kind of like, I know I'm okay, but is it possible I just got lucky?
Yeah.
And the getting it the second time made me feel better about it, but there was still that doubt in my mind, like, was my deck just broken? Like, did I just do it twice? But once I got the third time, I mean, you can't recreate success like that.
Right.
And get lucky every time, at least in my eyes. So I must be doing something right.
Yeah, you're doing well, man. I think, and your head's on your shoulders. I think it's great. Let's kind of kick it to wrap this up.
Mm-hmm.
You're a student, right? Still?
Yeah. I graduated a year early from high school. I'm now in community college for 2 years, and then I'll transition to a 4-year.
Okay, that's dope. So you're one of the younger players, and I always like to talk like end goals here, but like you got, who knows, who like. A lot of the players are older. They have jobs. They're starting careers and stuff. But like, what's on your mind here? Are you just playing till you're tired of playing? you win
Yeah.
worlds this year, or you're hanging it up. That'd be dope. I'm
Yeah.
always like, I've talked to Kenny Britton. He's like, that's what I'd do. He's like, if I win
Yeah.
worlds, I ain't playing ever again, which
Yeah.
is a great way to go out. But yeah, what's your end goal here, man?
So I'm not like a real fan of the like quitting posts and stuff that people put out there, every once in a while, big announcements like that. But I guess now that the question is here, I don't see myself playing next year. I don't want to say never
Oh, really?
because, anything's possible, but I kind of want to transition from, being younger, having a bunch of free time into like more professional job stuff like that I've been working on the side with Pokemon. So I personally don't see myself playing next year as much as I'd like to, but that's just life for me. So as much as I'd like to, I don't think that's what I'm going to be doing. And obviously, never is never. I could top 4 worlds and be like, you know what, I need another shot. Just
Fuck
go
it.
at it again.
Right.
But I don't plan on like quitting. But hopefully at some point I return, or if I end up playing. But yeah, as of now, the plan is not to continue next season.
Okay.
So I wanted to take this year to ride the top 16 dream, go to all the places I've never been able to go to, Brazil, Australia, stuff like that. I've done that now. So, obviously, coronavirus, COVID is a little odd,
Shakes things
but
up a little bit for you. Yeah.
so far the goal is just get top 16, get a good finish at Worlds, and hang it up for a while. But long term, I'm going to community college for 2 years now, just going to get the 60 credits, then transition to a 4-year business school of some sort. And my end game career is I want to be a forensic accountant. So
Okay.
ideally, working for the FBI or something, as a forensic accountant, following money trails, fraud, stuff like that. But I've kind of set up my classes as focusing on the business side. I've taken accounting 1, accounting 2 through high school, now taking it again in college. So that's the plan. My end goal is to be a forensic accountant.
That's what's up. I think it's really so. This year is really big for you. Like to put
Yeah.
everything in perspective. Like you put a good team together. You're playing very well, and you're
Mhm.
hanging it up after this. And this is your
Yeah.
shot. So like, as much as like people want to like talk like, okay, this is just a tournament, but for you, it's like, no, I'm all in here. I'm all in here,
Yeah.
and like these relationships are cool, and you're in my room, and I'm gonna share with you. But like that whole leaking thing, things are a little more for you here, and I think it's
Yeah.
people should take in consideration of that, like when they're talking to you and stuff, and like I know it's not like a huge deal, like if you win or not, but to say you're gonna hang it up and you're having a great season, like
Yeah.
you put that pressure on you, like
Yeah.
to do it. Like you want to do well on your last event, like going into Worlds, like that's gonna be a big event for you. So
Yeah.
I really hope you do well. I think you put a good team around you. I think there's a lot of players that have the kind of same mindset as you. Like you can't play forever. I got school coming.
Yeah.
Let me go all in right here. Let's see what I can do. And I commend you because like you're doing it, bro. You're doing it.
Yeah. And it's just compared to a lot of the people that are my age that are playing at the level I'm playing.
Yeah.
I joined late, and in all honesty, like Katron's been playing for 10 years, I want to say now, maybe more.
Yeah.
I joined at 5, so it's just I don't want people. If I end up playing next year, right? I don't want people to be like, oh, you
Yeah.
said you were quitting. My intention is to not play as much or not play at all, but never say never. Stuff can change.
Exactly.
Change happens every week, and obviously
Any day.
a couple of weeks ago I wasn't expecting half the events to get canceled that were remaining. So
Exactly. Like things change 100%, but
yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's a thing, and um, if let's hope you ride off into the sunset here, bro. And like I think
hope
John Eng has the same thing, and he's playing real well this year. And I think that I don't. The more I talk to people like you and people like John that are doing very well with this whole mindset of like this could be my last season.
Yeah.
I almost think it's like a boost, man. You guys are on like a different level here. You're like, I'm putting all my chips in these tournaments, and it's really paying off. Because like obviously I'm chilling. I'm good at what I'm doing. When I go into a tournament, I'm like, fuck it, dude. We're playing this, but obviously you got your shit together. You're showing people how to win.
And hopefully, you know, I can come back someday if the opportunity presents itself, if Pokemon's still around, just to reestablish some of that nostalgia. But you
Right.
know, I wanna get a stable career going first. You know,
No.
set up life before Pokemon.
Smart, smart, smart. I like the mindset. I think that's all I got for you today. I think. Is there any like sponsors, shout outs you want to hit it with?
Sure. I'm currently sponsored by Ultimate Spice Gaming. So shout out to them and the PTCGO store. So both two sponsors that help me, you know, with cards online, cards in general, getting places. So yeah, a huge thanks to them, and shout outs to people in general.
Dope.
Shout out to everyone I work with in the lab. Shout out to all the people I've
The
met through the game,
lab.
the people playing. Shout out to you, Zach, for having me on.
Oh,
And
dude.
yeah, thank you.
All right. And where they can follow you is Twitter. I got it down below.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, all of it's my name in some variation. I think I aligned them all, but it should just be Will Jenkins TCG on Facebook, just my name, stuff like that. So,
dope, dope,
yeah.
guys. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Thanks for joining. Next week, I think I'm gonna have Trainer Chip. If you haven't subscribed to this channel already, please I think it's like 90% of people watching the videos are not subscribed. Like hit that subscribe
Subscribe to
button.
Faded Town.
Yeah,
I
come
watched
on.
a ton of the episodes on my
See,
14-hour flight to Australia. I love it.
dope,
Number one podcast in the world. So keep it
killer.
up, Zach.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate it. You heard it, guys. But for now, we're gonna scoop it up.